some of the events happening like in the next, I want to say the next month, because one of them is DreamHack, and I just kind of want to mention it.
Okay,
So I want
fair.
to mention DreamHack Vegas, the fact that like I'm gonna be going there. Probably I wouldn't say for all of the days, but I did buy like a $20 pass to attend like the one of the finals days.
All right. Well, you just actually mentioned it
Yeah.
because we're actually on the air, and we're back with another segment here on the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. I want to take this time to thank everybody for listening once again, and I wanted to break in because I with a little segment here because my good friend Christian Zamudio, our esports expert, better known as Zamurai Chris on Royal Flush 7, he actually messaged me during the week and actually wanted to, I really need to talk to you, Gerald. I really need to go and get the word out to the people as far as some of the latest news in esports world. So, Christian, I want to thank you first for coming on the show today. I appreciate it. And like
Yeah,
I said,
my
if it's
pleasure.
something that urgent in the esports world, then I know that our listeners have definitely got to hear about it.
All right, so it's going to be like two or three different things. Actually, maybe four. One of them is definitely a local thing and a niche that I enjoy. But let's go ahead and start off like kind of ease ourselves in. So first thing I want to talk about is there's an event this February called DreamHack Vegas. Basically, it's a Counter-Strike Global Offensive major, and you have 16 teams. A lot of them were invited. Others had to go through open qualifiers in for their prospective regions, and there's like a $450,000 prize pool, and it's a pretty big. It's going to be throughout like the middle of February, starting from the 15th until the 19th of February, where the finals end. Yeah, so I wanted to mention that real quick because I know I recently started to get really into Counter Strike thanks to Royal Flush 7. I got to interview a lot of like a lot of their play. Actually, no, I did interview their whole team before they started playing their games on the CEVO ladder. They really impressed a lot of viewers, and they went on land against mixed pro and premier level teams. I did want to mention that that's what I'm currently that's what currently is going on in Vegas. The other thing is, the one thing that I did want to mention too is the fact that there is an issue that is going on within like our local fighting game scene.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I noticed that. Definitely, that's one of the major reasons I know that you really wanted to get a hold of our listeners and let them know. So what's going on?
All right. So the one thing that I wanted to talk about is there is an issue within the Killer Instinct scene that it was a small issue that kind of blew up overnight for no reason. Um, it
Gee,
was
how could that happen with the internet?
right. It just just spreads like a virus. One person mentions something, and then all of a sudden the next day like your whole world turns upside down. Well, what happened is there was an issue with teabagging. It's a form of I feel personally it's a form of like showboating, and it's also a mind game, right?
But it's also a form of taunting as well. I mean,
Yeah.
this goes back to, I guess, probably the where it first really got popularized was in the the Halo 2 when
Yep.
and Halo 2 just blossomed as a multiplayer experience. Unfortunately, one of the things that came along with it was teabagging or taunting an opponent when you either scored on CTF or you killed them in a death match and whatnot. And as they're spawning or getting ready to spawn, there's that period of time where you could just sit over them and go ahead and teabag them, as they say.
Yep. And you could spawn kill them, and yep, teabag them. Well, the issue here was somewhat like it was in the Killer Instinct Ultimate fans group where this occurred. Someone didn't really appreciate a player that likes to teabag online during matches, and essentially he threatened to if he ever saw that person to basically physically assault him. That's when like two of the community organizers for that group decided to one completely time out this person, and this is where it got a little bit hazy. There was a rule in the Killer Instinct World Cup last year that was in place restricting, taunting by teabagging, but it wasn't really enforced at all. In fact, the person who made this rule, Brandon Alexander, otherwise known as Tusk Odinson, he opted to just eliminate the rule altogether. But of course, with seeing that and just the implications of violence at certain events that he didn't want to see, he decided to reinstate the ban.
Well, it also represents something as far as sportsmanship is concerned. And if esports, and you and I have talked about esports going to that next level, as far as, obviously there's the attendance, obviously there's the TV ratings, but getting into that mindset of the general audience at large.
Right.
And for me, I think one of those things that has to come along with it is you have to show yourself as a whole esports base to show that level of class and sportsmanship to show that you are ready to be at that level. And I think that's one of the things that's there. And I think the general community expects those type of teabagging, or they just expect they're just kids playing computers. Of course, they're going to act bad or whatnot. But if you're the esports community as a whole follows a better code of sportsmanship and working with each other in wins and losses and whatnot, that would just elevates the esports into entirely different level, if I can say that right.
Right. And I definitely agree with you on that. The only issue with that is from time to time, you do see in professional sports that, there are going to be players that
Oh yeah,
definitely, kind of disobey those rules. You see all sorts of fighting in hockey, not all the time, but,
but
that's
most of
one
those,
obvious example.
but most of those leagues tell you differently. But if there's unsportsmanlike conduct,
Right.
they're given 15 yards, they're given technicals, they're given various penalties and whatnot, and to take off those penalties. But thank goodness those penalties were reinstated. But I'll let you finish as far as report on Killer Instinct.
Oh yeah. Okay. So here's what happened. So after that, that ban got reinstated. Obviously, PvP Live was the first to report on it, and that's when like other major gaming media sites kind of began to talk about the bans. You saw a lot of backlash by the casual audience stating, and even the fighting game community stating that, why would you ban a mind game essentially, because that's something integral. You've seen, I don't know if you've seen the Capcom Cup Finals on ESPN. NuckleDu, our world champion,
Mm.
was teabagging throughout the entire event. He was basically asserting himself and uh, using that as a mind game. I could see it in that aspect where, where it is beneficial, but I do understand that if you do it too excessively, it's almost as if you're not taking the event seriously.
But
And it's
then
a,
it comes down to which audience do you wish to embrace? Are
right,
you going to embrace just the esports community? Then go ahead, teabag all you want. But if you
right,
want to embrace a larger audience that's skeptical about esports, and let's just put it bluntly, they are skeptical about esports as
of
far as
course.
legitimizing it and putting it at a different level, then maybe that's something you don't really want to promote and push on a larger audience.
Yeah, that and I can totally agree with you with it. Right now, it's just a lot of different games. You can clearly see that there are a lot of different issues with the Smash Brothers community. Like even though it's divided from title to title, you can see that they're trying to vie and push to be esports, but in that same they're also in that same path, right? You also see the parallel in tennis right now too, with certain rule sets and coaching not particularly being allowed in certain events. It really is up to us to kind of figure out, and hopefully, we don't see that much backlash in the long run regarding it. I know that particular teabagging rule got redacted uh, about a day or two afterwards. Uh, Brandon Alexander, like he does so much for the community, and I'm very happy that he's part of the Killer Instinct group. Maybe it was just he mentioned it was trolling, but maybe it was just a lack of foresight, or it just seemed a little bit too not suspicious, but it was very coincidental that all of this happened a few days leading up to the announcement for the games at Evo 2016. And speaking of which, that's the next topic I want to go ahead and
That's what I was
discuss.
hoping you would lead into.
2017.
So yes.
All
So
right.
the Evo is, if anybody's not familiar with out there, the Evo tournament is one of the largest tournaments as far as with fighting anywhere in the world. I know that they recently announced 8 different games, that a lot of them, which are standards year after year, that they go
Yep.
by as far as fighting game is concerned. Then there's also one is concerned, but I'll let you elaborate more on what's going on with Evo Championship, because it is, much to things I've said in the past as far as it's concerned. It is a great tournament. I know that personally, as far as covering, has been a little bit problematic from here and there, but besides that, it is a great tournament for fighting fans all across the world that they look forward to each and every year. So what can they look forward to coming up in this turn around for the Evo tournament?
All right, so what I can expect, there's going to be a total of 9 titles. 8 of them were announced already, but I want to go ahead and discuss the ninth title. It's actually up to a fan vote again this year. A few years ago, there was a fan vote made, and it was for charity. It was for breast cancer awareness. Smash Brothers Melee made its triumphant return because of that. And this year, it's there's a selection of 9 games. A few of the prevalent ones were Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Killer Instinct, Pokken Tournament, and believe it or not, Windjammers and Arms. Yeah, but it's all going to charity. It's going towards the Make a Wish Foundation.
That's
So yeah, that's pretty awesome.
yeah, and then throwing that in there with Windjammers is yeah, that's okay, great.
That was a little bit left field for me too. Almost like Windjammers. I thought that was a joke at first. I'm like, wait, Windjammers? Are you serious? I could understand maybe Arms, being it's a Nintendo Switch title. It's not even out, but like Windjammers? I mean, come on.
Yeah, well, maybe they're courting a certain audience. I won't say on air who they might be courting, but they might be courting a specific audience.
Yeah, they could be. Well, then again, Evo hasn't been like they were definitely experimenting with a few other types of titles. I know at one point they had like a Mario Kart DS tournament a few years back. Yeah. Let's see. But
But
taking a look at
that's pretty varied. So what are some of the actual ones that are in place now, or did you want to go ahead and talk about the ones that you can vote on, which you said you can vote voting lasts until the 5th, is that correct?
actually voting lasts until February 8th.
Okay.
Yeah, at noon apparently.
Noon is all right, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
I'm like noon. I thought it would be midnight or something.
Yeah, maybe somebody didn't want to turn off the clock at late at night. But anyways, so what are some of the titles that what are the titles that people can vote on to, hopefully if they want to see that actually end up being part of the Evo tournament?
All right, so the titles you can choose from, I'll go ahead and kind of mention this in non-order. Street Fighter 2 Turbo, that's one of the titles. Mortal Kombat XL, Nidhogg, is it Skullgirls, Arms, Windjammers, Pokken Tournament, Killer Instinct, and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Fair
So
enough, indeed.
yeah, so a nice variety with different communities. And right
Hey,
now, yeah.
I'm surprised Injustice Gods Among Us 2 is not mentioned as far as it's concerned.
Oh, that's because Injustice 2 is part of the main lineup.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah.
that main lineup is?
All right, so the main lineup, we have Street Fighter 5, of course. That's kind of a mainstay at this point with about 5,000 entries. You have Smash Brothers Melee, Smash Brothers for the Wii U, Tekken 7, the newest revision of Guilty Gear Xrd. So it's going to be Xrd Revelator 2.
Do you have a problem with two different Smash Brothers on there, or no?
Um, at first I did, but then I recognized immediately that they're two different communities altogether.
Yeah,
As
they
I
are.
mentioned, as I mentioned before, there was a bit of a turmoil with Melee fans and newer Smash Brothers fans. They like their games for very specific reasons, and they don't really. There's a lot of divergent and hardcore fans that'd rather play the old game because it's really technical rather than going with the newest game because it's new. You don't really see that too often in other titles. With with the transition between Street Fighter 3 Third Strike and Street Fighter 4, you kind of saw that, but it quickly died out. Everyone managed to make their way into the newest iteration of the title.
Yeah.
And honestly, I have a theory on it. It also has to do with like developer support. Nintendo, I know they haven't been too keen on supporting games right after they've been launched until very recently, and it's just I feel maybe it's two different schools of thought as far as those fighting game communities are concerned.
So what are the other titles that are available as far as it's concerned that are actually in for sure for
All
the
right.
Evo tournament?
So the last two titles, Blaze Blue, Central Fiction, and King of Fighters 14.
Okay. King
Yeah.
of Fighters definitely. Blaze Blue is if people if are not familiar with out there, it does have its concentrated audience.
Yep.
I'm kind of surprised to see that one also as well mentioned, but it does have its audience.
It's in there for a similar reason as for, including Guilty Gear. They're both apparently different communities. I actually talked to one of my buddies. He plays both games, and he let me know, like, yeah, both of these games play very differently. One's a lot more faster than the other, and they reward different styles of gameplay. And one kind of caters to a different audience than the other, so they're different in that aspect.
Fair enough. And if somebody out there wants to vote, they just need to go to the Evo tournament website
Yep.
as far as it's concerned and vote. You have until February 8th at lunchtime, basically,
Yep.
to vote on which is going to be the last game to be part of it. I know there's a certain game that you like above all others, so
Yep.
let everybody know out there what that is.
All right. So being the leader of the Las Vegas KI community, like founding the page, like I founded the page right after Evo 2016. I want this game to be at Evo. There's so much storyline left to fill in that it needs another Evo.
I thought it
As
would
much
be
as
Windjammers personally. I didn't know.
I would, yeah, I would personally see, want to see Windjammers 2 or even, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, see all the old guard come back for one last hurrah, but I I just love this game so much. No, I've been able to meet like so many wonderful people in in the Vegas community because of it, and it kind of reignited my passion towards fighting games, and it's really made me think about like my future as far as like what do I want to do with esports and gaming in general. Kind of helped me propel myself into your direction with joining Pop Culture Cosmos and Royal Flush 7 as like a lead content writer and event coverage for esports.
Well, we're definitely happy to have you here. Is there anything else? Do we grab all four subjects, or is there something else you want to
Oh
do
yeah,
put
there's
in as well?
there's one more thing. Speaking of KI, I do want to talk about an upcoming tournament. Um, so there's going to be a tournament next week at the Downtown Grand, next Friday, February 3rd. I believe registration starts at, actually, no, is it Friday or is it Saturday? I believe it's going to be the 4th, actually. It's going
They
to
just
be,
they need to check out the Downtown Grand in Las Vegas website, and
yeah,
they can actually the schedule's right there. I know that for a fact.
yep,
I actually refer to it all the time.
alrighty.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
so,
for and then also Downtown Grand on Facebook, giving them some pub because I know they if you follow them, they literally will let you know exactly all the great various
yep.
tournaments that they have. So
And they also have esports betting, the most important part. So if you want to
yes,
try to win some money at big events like at DreamHack, if they do allow betting, for that event, I'd say just try your chances out. Maybe you might win something.
or Evo as well. I'm sure a
Yeah,
lot of money will be exchanging hands then as well.
yeah. Hopefully, there isn't like some sort of lobbying issue to try to, prevent people from placing bets on Evo in general.
I hope not either, because if the esports community does want to go where it'd like to go, then it should be go ahead and handled in the same fashion as other sporting events, as basketball, football, and whatnot. If that
Very true.
they're professional, then why wouldn't you be allowing it? But then again, there's some there's some entities that sports books have not touched yet. I know that offshore books have already approached like things like everything from the Oscars to pro wrestling to
Right.
as far as that's concerned, things that Vegas sports book here haven't covered as of yet, but hopefully in the future that they will. And it's great to see esports now being courtesy of the Downtown Grand and other Las Vegas books covering the esports scene. And I like I said, Evo tournament is one of the biggest if not the biggest fighting tournament in all the world. and
Yeah.
and definitely we'll be seeing some action indeed. So how can we get a hold? Somebody, excuse me. How can someone get a hold of all your great work that you do for either Pop Culture Cosmos here, but also with Royal Flush 7?
All right. So what first thing you can do is you can follow me on Twitter. I'm gonna be at Terradine. It's Terradine. So
Mm-hmm.
you can look me up there. Second place, you can look me up on the Royal Flush 7 website. I do a lot of interviews with our players and kind of go over their events and very specific, topics of what they're doing or what they're up to. Other than that, you can also look me up on GameSource and the Pop Culture Cosmos site, where you'll have a lot of my VODs, a lot of the VODs there, and YouTube as well.
Awesome.
Pop Culture Cosmos.
Absolutely. And then they can catch your streams as well. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, that's right. I do stream from time to time. Right now, I'm kind of taking a little bit of a break to kind of focus on a few of my, personal life things. But other than that, you can follow me on twitch.tv/Samurai Chris. I'm usually hosting a lot of my friends and other gaming tournaments, so you'll probably see me on those streams commentating as well. It just look on a Wednesday or Thursday, I would say.
Fair
You
enough.
might see me.
Fair enough indeed. Well, that's again Zamurai Chris, aka Christian Zamudio, giving this that esports update. Christian, it's just been a pleasure as always having you on.
Likewise.
And anytime you want to break in with an esports update that you feel is pertinent, whether it's Evo or what have you going on anywhere in the world, definitely you are always more than welcome to provide an esports update to our fans out there.
Yep, and I'll be glad to to approach you more often with that, because I know I was just like, what do I do? Where can I voice my opinion on this entire issue? And I'm like, wait, what am I talking about? Gerald, wait, come back.
It's what I'm here for. Like I said, we truly appreciate it. I know our listeners do that are familiar with the esports scene, and anyone else who is trying to get into and more interested in finding out more about the esports phenomenon indeed. So again, that's Christian Zamudio. He is the man, the myth, the legend as regarding
Thank you.
all esports. He is, again, follow him at Zamurai Chris on Twitter. He posts a lot of stuff on Twitter. I know he's a madman there from personal experience because I follow him and I see a lot of Royal Flush Sevens going out. Follow his work there as well. They're a great organization indeed, dealing with everything esports. It's been truly a pleasure to have you on the show, and definitely look forward to having you back on real soon.
Yep. Thank you.
Appreciate it. And this again is the Pop Culture Cosmos. We'll be right back.